What is going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and I am back in the studio live for you on Facebook Live. And I've got a very interesting topic to talk about tonight. The haunting of the last degrees of Scorpio, which is the next 6 days, and how it's going to affect all of us very intensely, and the transits that are going to happen in the middle of all this is pretty dramatic. So I just filmed my uncut, which a lot of people love to watch, and so it's going to, of course, be a very good way to give you the clear cut very fast, but this is going to be much more of an extended view of what I see in the cosmos, what's happening with all this intense energy this week. And I think the main thing to remember is when it comes to everything that happens with Scorpio, it's transformation. It is the Phoenix rising. And I think there's a part of us that kind of gets getting stuck in fear with Scorpio, or we don't want to face that transformation or change, and this is going to be a week where we must face the change very extremely. You know, this is the end of Scorpio, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to cover to really talk about how to get through this, what is exactly happening in the middle of all this, and how it's going to empower your life. Because at the end of the day, I like to do this all about empowering. So if you've never been on Facebook Live with me, it's actually pretty cool because I'm live in the chat and we're about to actually go through some charts, and I'm actually going to use a new method that I haven't used before. So I'm in, you can hear my voice, but I'm in the chat, so I'm with you guys right now. And it looks like we got a good amount of people in here to start this whole process. So here's the deal, all right? And this is something that I really need to make clear about this next 6 days. The next 6 days have very rare transits happening that are actually extremely connected to 2015. I've brought up May and June of 2015, and I've brought up July and August of 2015. Now, let me do something real quick here. I put up a picture this week on my Facebook that I haven't talked about or described it to everyone, and I'm going to show that picture right now. At the bottom it says, 2015 fears and tests are going to haunt you this week. Can you pass the test? And I said, yes. Keeping sane and having sane people are important right now. And to remember that, especially May, June of 2015 and late July, August of 2015 is where the haunting is taking place. Now, the reason why I even made the haunting picture of that picture is because in the original haunting, not the one with the Catherine Zeta-Jones that was horribly done, to be honest with you. The original is way better. But Eleanor goes into this haunted house, and the house basically takes her away and basically haunts her, and she ends up with all these sane people around her trying to keep her together, a psychologist, psychiatrist, you know, a psychic, and a guy in the back there who just owns the house, who doesn't believe in any of this hoopla, right? Spirituality, ghosts, nothing like that. And they try to keep her sane, and they can't. And there's going to be a part of all of our souls this week that, to be honest with you, we're going to have that look on our face like Eleanor right there, like, what the fuck? And it's so weird that the astrology this week has sane people in our lives to truly help us get through this, and so we don't freak out. So, do you want to come into the time capsule with me and go into the past and make sure that we don't go through this process where it ends in the wrong way? This is what I am here for today. So, let's go to the Leo King's trusty chart reader. Now I'm going to pull up some charts here. Here is, well, let's not do that one. Let's do this one. Okay. Now, if we look at this date, let's do, oh yeah, I like actually using this guy. All right, black, okay, done. So, oh no, we want to use, I'm using my new iPad Pro, so give me a second with this. So look at this right here, okay? Here we go. Oh, it won't let me. So, oh yes, it will. Look at the Sun and Mercury and how it's squared over to Neptune. This is going to happen this week, but Mercury is going to be on the opposite side in Sagittarius. So, it kind of is a little freaky because look at this Mercury retrograde. May 29th, 2015, things got really weird when Mercury crossed the Sun. And actually, we can go a little even backwards. It was about that middle of May when Mercury went into Gemini and started to square Neptune at 9 degrees. Neptune is exactly at 9 degrees right now as we're talking. And this week, this transit's going to happen on the opposite side over here in Sagittarius. Now, the weird part about this week is with Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Neptune as it stopped, there is a very, very weird moment where our mind, the other side of spirituality, the weirdness of this reality that we don't understand becomes extremely heightened. And last year it was interesting because if we actually look at the chart and we actually look at June 23rd. So take May around the 15th, 20th to the 23rd of June and look at this Mercury again at 9 degrees. It made a lot of passes to square Neptune. Now it's not going to happen again like this, so it won't be as intense, but that's going to be the fear, is it's going to bring up the fear that happened during this period. And what was also interesting about this period was Mercury just kept going really slow. This time, if we look at the chart of today, and actually we can do this, let's do the chart for, oh, is it not gonna like let me, oh, hold on. we want to go to Astro Gold. If we do the chart for November 18th, 2016. See how Neptune's now going to be stationary, but Mercury will be moving fast. So it's kind of an opposite weird flip that we're going through, but that weird period that was really ludicrous and crazy and mentally weird and a lot off, especially for people who have a lot of energy in these positions, which a lot of people that I know do, there is that you have to overcome that fear. And the reason why I'm saying overcome that fear is because this is Scorpio. This is the last degrees. So let's look at the chart right now. Look at this. So the 18th, there's 26 Scorpio, there's 27 Scorpio, there's 28 Scorpio, there's 29 Scorpio, and by the 22nd, we're finally all the way out. But what's interesting is for all this next 6 days, look at, I'm recording this on the 15th, the night of the 15th. Let's just say the 16th. We got 6 days, folks. We're at the last degrees of Scorpio. And Saturn was here. Remember, Saturn in 2015, for most of the year, was actually in Sagittarius. But what happened was, after that weird May-June crazy Mercury crap that freaked us all out, guess what happened? Saturn went back into Scorpio. Then there was that weird period of July and August of Saturn back in Scorpio. And guess what happened? Jupiter and Saturn squared in Leo and Scorpio. And guess what happens this week? You're not going to even believe this. Literally, on the 20th of November, the day that Neptune goes stationary and direct, the sun and the moon are going to square at 28, 29 degrees of Scorpio, Leo. Exactly what happened in July, August, exactly where Saturn was, and this is going to highlight this spot extremely and how major of a shift point happened in your life on August 2nd and August 3rd of 2016. Finally breaking through fear, finding love and happiness, and there's going to be some residue to get over here. So it's not going to be simple, to be honest with everyone. Now, let's look at how this works. This is the chart for August 3rd of 2015. And this is where Saturn was at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And look at this. This was the Venus-Jupiter conjunction that was at 28, 29 of Leo as Venus was going retrograde. Do you remember this, folks? This time in this life is going to be highlighted extremely this week, all on the same week that we are finishing the Scorpio transit. Neptune is dead freaking stopped. You can't move to the next part of your life till you exit the fears of last year fully. And you can't freak out, which I talk more about this in my Uncut, okay? You can't freak out about, I'm going to be honest, your past shit coming up, and that's Neptune South Node. And you want to even know what's even weirder? All the charts I showed you have Neptune at 9 degrees when they were the most crucial parts of 2015. 9 degrees, Neptune. Okay, now let's back out. Let's go now to May 29th, okay, of 2015. Where's Neptune? 9 degrees, okay? Let's do this again. Let's pick June 23rd. Neptune is at 9 degrees. And where are we at today? And this week, 9 degrees. If you want to get even deeper into the way that astrology works and even think about degrees, 9 is the last degree before you move into the decan, the next decan, however you want to call it, decan, decan. Decan kind of sounds cooler. But Neptune's about to finish its first baby phase of its transit since 2011. And so all of the spirituality, all of the sensitivities, all of the weirdness that you've been going through, especially because you're connected to this haunting of Scorpio in the last, 4 years of scorpionic energy. You got to remember also in 2016, we had Mars go retrograde in Scorpio to kind of cut through all this stuff, and now here's the sun lighting it all up. This is extreme now about the sensitivities and the overcoming, and, we're in an in-between world where we're getting ready to move into the next chapter, and you've got to go through this first, and that's what this is all really about. But to get back to the decans of astrology is Neptune's getting ready as it goes stationary direct this week to come into the next higher degrees. 9 also as well in numerology is the end, the last number. It's a very strong degree, and Neptune in 9 is not a very fun position because it's jamming the waves. It's jamming the sensitivities at a stronger aspect. And with the South Node on top of it, that makes for an even more extreme aspect of release, of let go that must happen now. And it's very difficult and it's very hard to go through these kind of transits if you are, and I hate to use it, but alone in many ways. Because the reason why I say alone is there's one positive aspect happening through all of this weird Neptune stuff this week. The negative is Mercury's going to retro or square it. The positive is Venus is going to sextile it. So even though we might not all be right in our heads about it, we have to look at people. Venus is in Capricorn, where it is sane, it is together, it is well-informed, it is cautious, but it also as well is earthly, it is grounded. And so if we look at the chart and you actually see, and then actually let me take a little freeze frame of this, and then the thing is, and I'm going to bring you back to that, but is that Venus sextiles this Neptune. You can have people there to be around you to help you and be sane, and to be together, and to make sure that you're all right, and to make sure that you can get through this, and to make sure that they can be, you know, like, am I going crazy right now? And they can be like, no, you're cool. You know what I mean? Like, you're sane, you're safe. So you don't lose yourself. People are going to lose themselves this week. People are going to let their past patterns come up. People are going to doubt the decisions they've already made and need to stay sane and that they made proper decisions. Or self-doubt comes just in your own abilities, in your own self, that don't need to be there this week. All because of your own misconception of your own beliefs that are taking you in a wrong direction. So it leaves for a very interesting time and for a very interesting week. I think it's actually extraordinary, and I'm extremely excited to really experience this week, even though as an astrologer, I'll be honest, I am scared because the events that happened during those times affected my chart extremely and affected a lot of people around me extremely, and were very nerve-wracking and very hypersensitive and very hard to deal with. But we need to focus that this is the universe and God pushing us through to a much more breakthrough period than we might all even realize. And there's going to be, and I predicted this week in my Uncut, especially, like, let's take a look now that I got my pen working here. So here's the date, November 19th, okay? Neptune and the South Node are going to go stationary direct, right? And this is this eerie period here, okay? And it is also, what's really weird is there's going to be a lot of the old patterns, okay, coming back. The other thing that's coming, and see, here's Venus at 9 making a nice sextile, so that's good. But what's the most interesting to me about this period is when this eeriness turns on, of course it's this Mercury that is wanting to be free and have fun, but look at what's next to it, Saturn. And Saturn has now exactly reached 1626. If you go back to March of 2016, Saturn went retrograde at this degree, 1623 actually. So right as Neptune goes direct, right as Mercury's squaring it, right as Mercury's trying to understand this world, Saturn's involved that we need to be grounded in our beliefs, we need to not be subconsciously lost in our old patterns and eerie, weird feelings, and we need to be grounded in whether it's our projects, relationships, people, work. This stuff will help dramatically. And it's even weirder because then look at that, there's that Sun 27, there's the Moon in Leo, and in a day they come up, the Moon comes here to this 28, 29, my handwriting's horrible, and then there's the Sun going to be at 28 that next day. And look what else is happening. Jupiter is going to square Pluto at 15 over the next week, and that happens. And that's going to be the week, and let me bring this up, let me do this, let me do this. The week of November of the 22nd through the 29th. Oh, that was horrible. I gotta get this pen working right. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. November of the 22nd through the 29th. That's when, if we look at the astrology, and I'll do November, is when Neptune has now gone forward. The moon is now in its dark balsamic phase and waning period, right? Because the moon will come into Virgo and then it will come into here, and it's getting ready for its new moon, which is going to happen in Sagittarius in a week and a half. But what's interesting is Jupiter's going to square Pluto, and then of course the Sun and Mercury will be on Saturn, which now I'm starting to erase everything, but that's, I'm telling you folks, we are getting ready and prepared this week for the newest of all the chapters to be in full gear all the way. And you've got to get through your shit from the last 4 years. I keep screaming this one out, especially 2015 is the end part of it. It's like, you know, the end of the shit, basically. So, you know, this is a big, big purge. I'm going to take a quick break really quick. I don't want anybody to go anywhere because we are going to turn to the lines and see what people have to say live on the Facebook chat. Thank you so much for watching the Leo King Network as we are talking about all this crazy stuff going on right now. And let's see what's going to be talked about in the chat room when I come back. Wake up to astrology like you've never seen before. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Leo King channel. I want to go and turn now to the live chat and see what people have to say. So I'm telling everybody, hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? And actually, I think I'll be able to get the live chat going. You know what? It's so crappy that the iPad... Oh no, cool, I got it to work. So, let's see here. Perfect. So, I want to turn to the phones. That's such a radio terminology, but I want to turn to the lines. What's everybody saying? I'm hearing some people say 2015 was horrific. Seriously looking forward to no longer thinking, fuck my life every day. Couldn't have said it any better, Stacy. What's the point of old patterns being brought up? Will this be noticeable to people who are not aware of astrology? Very excellent question, Rebecca. So the question is like, what is the point of old patterns being brought up? Well, whenever you have the South Node of Neptune, especially in the powerful sign of Pisces where Neptune is ruled, we're never going to see this in our life again. And the fact that this is happening after the 2012 alignment, the fact that this is happening after the deepest purge of Scorpio that we've ever seen in our life and that we will ever see based off the math. We will never have solar eclipses, Saturn, North Node conjunct Saturn. I mean, I've done a lot of talks about how we will never see as much Scorpio as we've seen in our lives ever again. And the fact that this is all happening at this point, a lot of people talk about ascension. A lot of people talk about really being able to step into this higher dimensional reality, whatever you want to call it, whether you believe in that you're going to be able to like throw rainbows at somebody or whatever. It's a much more logical way of looking at it as being more hyper aware of your reality and the what we call cosmology or the understanding of the universe that we're in. And there's this deeper you know, purge that's been happening. And so our old patterns are coming up for us to be aware of, because if we get stuck in those patterns, then we are not able to really move into this new reality that we are all as a collective manifesting. So it's so important for us to understand these patterns, for us to see these patterns, even in many ways for us to experience them. Pisces is a sign of, you know, it's where it's very hard to get out of these patterns. It's why it's the two fish, right? And they seem to be extremely connected. And so it can become very difficult for people. And so people who don't follow astrology, they're going to be coming up with them. There's a natural guidance system in all of us, whether you've seen astrology or not. I call it the internal guidance system, the IGPS. It's going to turn on no matter what. And it's going to be very heightened now. I think that the election cycle of 2016 was part of the IGPS system, and many people turning on very powerfully, knowing something was off, something was a little weird, something wasn't right. Knowing, I mean, people should have known that the outcome was going to be as crazy as it was just by listening to their inner voice, instead of trying to let an outside world kind of determine what that voice is. And part of this is you inside of yourself going through that same battle now. It's almost like you're choosing what patterns that you want to let go of so you can move into the reality much better. So I hope that helped. Let's see what else is going on with the phone lines right now. The phone lines on live Facebook, even though they're not phone lines. We have got so sick and tired of this person. How do I make them leave me alone without being an asshole about it? That's an interesting question, because we do have Venus in Capricorn and we do have the Sun in Scorpio. You know, sometimes this is a very intense time. Whenever you get the Sun and Venus in Scorpio and Capricorn, you know, boundaries must be drawn. And sometimes you can draw boundaries in a way that doesn't have to be so harsh. Even though these two signs can do it in a very harsh way, and I think there's harsh boundaries being drawn between people, I think that the ultimate lesson of South Node Neptune is to bring out compassion and let our old patterns. So you might really not like the person, but it's also how much energy are you giving into this person? It's time for you to maybe cut the boundaries and cut the energy out that you even give this person, period. And watch that energy. The more you don't give to them, the more you fuel them. So this is about not fueling the fire, I would say, anymore as well. Because when we fuel the fire, we can get really caught up if we're giving our energy away to somebody that we dislike or that we're not happy to. And it's giving all of our energy away. If you watch my full moon video yesterday, I talked a lot about how, you know, and I'm going to be very frank here, but it's like, you know, in sex energy, it's like, you know, if you give all of your energy away sexually, you know, you're kind of worn out for the rest of the day. You don't have much to create. That's why a lot of the, especially the ancients, and there's a lot of, especially in the male department or men's groups, speak about, you know, making sure that you don't orgasm for a certain amount of time so you can maintain enough for your stamina so you can produce things in the world. The same goes into relationships. Like if you keep giving away all of your energy to somebody, you're giving it away and you have nothing left for yourself, you have nothing left for the world, and you're feeding them and they're going to keep coming into your world. I think that you have to set the boundaries with yourself now of how much that you're going to give to somebody or not. You can actually realize that if you don't give energy to somebody, and sometimes it's about just a simple conversation, you know, like I've gotten into relationships before and I need to make a phone call like, hey, I can't talk to you anymore because I'm going into a different relationship. And those conversations can sometimes be very difficult. They can sometimes be very hard too. But by just setting that boundary, like, hey, I'm doing this, I send you all my love and respect and I'm moving on, and doing it without fueling, I don't like you or I dislike you or I don't want to talk to you anymore, but by putting it into a much more positive place, by setting a boundary and moving on, if they continue to keep doing crazy things to you, to not feed it, to just block it off and go move into the energy that, you know, you really want to. So I hope that helps out a lot. What else do we got here? I have felt a major drain in willpower the last 5 days or so. Saturn crossed on my Neptune just recently. Could it be part of that? John Russell. I would say, of course, yes. Saturn passing Neptune. I'm about to have that next year, so I can't say I've ever been through that in my life, ever since I was a child, technically, so I don't remember it. And I have Saturn in Sagittarius like you, John. But that's just a period where you become stronger in your sensitivities. And you're having Saturn go through its shadow period on your Neptune. So yes, I would say that this is a little bit more geared towards you, but I think overall when it comes to willpower right now, it's more like the willpower of the choices we're making right now. The willpower that we can believe in the choices we've made, we can stick into these choices we've made, that we don't doubt our choices that we're making in our life right now that are better for us, that are higher vibrational for us. And that's going to come with challenging our willpower. You know, we get taught willpower has to be like super strong man and I'm going to make it all the way and that's how it's going to be. But willpower can also be another powerful energy of realizing that maybe you don't have that will. And maybe we have to find power in finding will again. And that sometimes is willpower itself, is finding the power again. That maybe it's not that you don't have it, it's maybe that you need to, deep inside of yourself, really see, why do you feel this way? There's no problem with feeling that you don't have the will, but maybe it's because you're self-doubting. I think there's a lot of self-doubt coming in the universe with this Neptune stopping and the fact that you have Saturn on your Neptune. So anybody with any Neptune transits happening, this Neptune transit that comes this week is going to be more powerful. And so for all of us, we feel a little bit like, is this the right energy? Is this the right choice? There's a little bit of a weird illusion going on. There's a little bit of, the sensitivity is heightened like I brought up, especially with all the Scorpio energy and so forth. So I hope that answers your question. I think this will pass by next week for you, especially the fact that Saturn will get off your Neptune real quick because it's at full speed technically now, this week. Let's go back. Let's see. Let's see what, I'm going to take a couple more questions and I'm going to go. Is this a good time for past relationships to come back? I would not make any decisions in relationships this week, personally. Even though Venus is sextile Neptune, the fact that we have Mercury square Neptune, the fact that we have Neptune stationary, we need to see everything, we need to reveal anything. We got to finish the end of this Scorpio transit. Even though, yes, you would think it would be setting boundaries and so forth, I think that the Sun in Sagittarius, that's why I said the week of November the 29th is going to be, the week of November 22nd to the 29th is going to be much more of a time to make those kind of decisions. Somebody just asked, are we still processing the super moon? So the super moon, was a big one. I actually, I have a moon in Taurus, so it was pretty easy for me. And then actually it was last night, I was in the emergency hospital with my cat for like 4 hours out of nowhere. And I asked the guy at the veterinarian office, the front desk guy, I was like, it's a full moon outside. He goes, oh, really? He goes, it's so crazy. We get the most cats, dog issues on full moons like this. The full moon actually was a saving grace because what it did was it brought stability for a quick second for you to kind of pay attention to the change, for you to look at the positive in the change. And you need to look at Sunday and Monday very powerfully in your spiritual past awareness and realize this super moon showed you something beautiful, something great that you're creating, something beautiful that you have. And to fall back on that when times get tough, to fall back on that when times get crazy, and remember the value in that greatness that is there. So the supermoon was a reminder of what's great. The supermoon was a reminder of what is so special in your life. And the supermoon is a reminder that life is still beautiful and still grand and still does have life, even though we go through change, even though we go through our own mini deaths inside. And I think that the supermoon was a great reminder. I think post-supermoon, you have to reflect back on those positive aspects that you were feeling at that one time or what came out that time. Supermoons can kind of pop things up, especially with the Sun in Scorpio, up to the surface that you hadn't seen before and that you're going to be dealing with for a while, quite possibly for the next 6 months even possibly. So, really pay attention to the things that came up during this supermoon and how to deal with them. I'm going to take one or two more. David, when did the political riots end? So, if you watch my talk on Portland, it's on YouTube, it's on my Facebook, you can scroll down, but it's on YouTube. I don't know. To be honest with you, I think that we've entered a period of Neptune and Pisces, which is going to be a separative energy for a long time. So I don't think we're through the woods yet with this stuff. I think this week there'll be a weird story, but it will, you know, it's Neptune going direct. It's on the south node, and Neptune's going to square it, and Saturn's. I described all this earlier in the video, and I'm going to describe it in my uncut. But I don't think it's going to be over for a while. I think people are unhappy. I think both sides have points that need to be addressed. And who knows, you know? I mean, astrologically speaking, no. I think that this week could be even weirder, to be honest with you. So I would say that maybe it would, and then people's beliefs are going to get real amped up. I would say all through the inauguration, and I said this in my talk, that from the election to the inauguration is the weirdest astrology ever. I think it will lighten up around the holidays and the new year, but around inauguration it'll get crazy again when Mercury comes out of that retrograde and stuff. And you know, I mean, to get back to that story, my own opinion is, you know, a lot of people need to pay attention, I think, to raising the vibration of the planet through doing other things. I mean, protesting who's going to be president or not, I don't believe is going to change anything. I think there's much more power in people finding that voice in themselves and that power in themselves. You know, Uranus and Aries kind of has to find it in themselves. That's the whole lesson. And here we are putting it on either side, whether, oh my God, I found my power through Bernie Sanders, or oh my God, I found my power through Hillary Clinton, or oh my God, I found my power through Trump, or even now people still find their power through Obama, you know? And it's like, none of these people bring you power. Sure, they might inspire you in some ways, but they don't actually do anything for you. You have to go do something in your life with that energy. You might be inspired by these people, but they're not going to affect your life or change your life. I think it's been actually very interesting to see the things that people are protesting about. Actually, it'll be funny. It'll like show up in the press, and it'll be different. It'll be like, well, Donald Trump's not going to do this or whatever. I think people need to not be so afraid of Donald Trump. I think the astrology shows, especially for the next year, that things are going to be much lighter and more positive than people realize, and it's already starting. And part of this is the end of Scorpio. Yeah, people are so entranced in this Scorpio transit with Neptune and so forth that they're lost in fear. And to fear a dude, and you got to remember, the press is what tells you that the presidency is something that is so powerful, and it's the most powerful job in the world. And you know, we're told this stuff. But you know, I think the most like powerful position in the world is God, and God holds that power. And I don't believe that God is going to have somebody come into power that's going to kill us all, or push a button and nuke the world, or anything like that. I think people need to have a little bit more trust in God. I think people have to have a little bit more faith that reality is a little bit more predestined than they realize, and that everything's going to work out the right way. Everything always does work out the right way. The light always wins. And sometimes we get caught up in feeling like we know exactly what side the light is. I think that we're at a point where that light, who knows what side it is, you know? A lot of people think the light was on the Democratic side. A lot of people think the light's on the Republican side. The spiritual community is splitting. I know astrologers and metaphysical people who are totally on the Trump team. And then I know astrologers and light workers who are totally on the Hillary team. So, you know, it's like, I think at the end of the day, we got to transcend which teams we are and just come into light and positivity and love, you know, Trump, and even love the protesters, and try and find a way to really rise above both this and do something different on the planet instead of wasting our time. You know, I put that this full moon highlighted the protesting so much. people are wasting their energy. They're wasting their energy and not getting anything in return. Nothing's going to change in that place. Imagine if you put that energy into putting a video out like this. It's actually spreading a message and helping somebody or giving them some sort of positivity to deal with to make their life better. You know, light is all about bringing positivity through making positive change. And I think that that's something that we don't see in the protesting is let's make positive change now. Not by who's president, but by what we do as individuals and what we do to change the world, what we do to innovate the world, what we do to create the world. And it's not a president that decides that. It's an American, it's a European, it's an Australian, it's a Chinese person, it's a Russian. It's an individual, and whether or not we're going to come together as a group and do something about it. So, and not some one person. This government actually was formed in a way in America. It's a republic. And there's 3 separate branches. And this is one branch everybody's freaking out about. You know? And it's like, that's why the universe has a check and balance, especially in our government, to where there are other branches. And the people can talk. You know? The people try to aim for the top person when, you know, if you have a problem, go aim to your representative. Go talk to your representative. I don't know any of these protesters that have ever even went to their representative and had a direct talk with them and tried to sway a vote in Congress to change something, then have those congressmen talk to the senators and over Trump the Trump. I mean, people need to kind of think a little bit more logically here. A lot of people need to do politics 101. One thing about the whole electoral college thing that I think is really interesting that people don't understand is this is a republic. This is not a democracy. Go look it up. And a republic is that each individual state represents its own country basically in a one, you know, and it's called the United States of America. This is not a federal government. This is not a federal country. These are 50 individual states that create a nation. So California legalized weed. Arizona didn't. You want to smoke weed? You should move to California and move out of Arizona. This is not an American thing. People need to get out of this kind of federal nationalistic thing of like, Hillary won more votes, so she should win. The way that it works as a republic is you go to that state has a certain amount of numbers, and the founding fathers and the older people understood the only way a republic stays a republic is when you keep powers in state. And when those powers in the state have their voice and the people can have that voice, you go to that state, you become a member of that state, and you vote in that state and you get that many points. That's how it works to represent and keep it a republic, because the second you bring it to a national level, you get rid of the voice of that state. And you become just a nationalistic place, and you get away from being a republic and the 50 United States. You want to smoke weed, you come to California, you go to Oregon, you go to Washington. You don't want to smoke weed, you definitely go to Arizona. You know, you want an abortion, you go to this state, you go to that state if you don't. You know, you want to be, you know, that's the way that America was built, and I think people forget that, and I think people need to do their really basic American history. Understanding the media won't cover you with this. The media won't tell you this electoral college thing about being a republic and about each individual state, and people don't get that. Please watch my talk in Portland. It's up on YouTube. So I hope that helps with everything. You know, it just blows my mind that people get upset that I'm an astrologer and I'll get political or I'll talk politics. But at the end of the day, it's like history was always my #1 thing. Go watch my movie. Age of Deception, movie.com. If you watch the 4 hours, you'll see the same things happening in our media today of deceiving people into swaying the way that they should believe. And the media is swaying people to believe into a system that goes away from the truth, the light, the way, and the way that the founding fathers had even created this place. So, you know, it's scary to see how much power that the media has influenced people to go protest. It's scary how much power that the media has used certain celebrities to even kind of push that agenda on people, and it's on both sides, I'm not going to lie. But it's amazing on how you as an individual need to learn to transcend both and go higher and stick to doing your own research. Go to Washington, D.C. Go read the Constitution. Yeah, I've seen it. I've been in front of the Constitution. Go to Washington, D.C. Go into the Capitol building and see how it works. Go in to see the old, Congress floors of where they used to hold votes. Go see where the Speaker of the House hangs out. I did it when John Boehner was Speaker of the House. Go to the White House and see what it looks like from the outside. Do some research. That's what Saturn and Sagittarius is. People are jumping the gun. And I think that's to answer my own personal opinion, and more importantly, the astrology of this overwhelming power that's kind of happening overall with everything. So, and you know what's interesting? Somebody said, we have the right to protest. It's not an agenda. It's a civil right to voice our dissent. And of course it is. And again, you use democracy. This is how our republic works. Go look it up. A republic is much stronger than a democracy. A democracy is much more nationalistic. But of course, you can say whatever you want, just how I can say whatever I want. All I'm saying is I think that the protesters could be creating something so much stronger than trying to change an election that was lost. Instead of wasting their energy and destroying the America that they want to change, and what was interesting is half the people arrested already that are part of the protest did not vote. So I think that's the weirdest part of it all. I'll do the last question. Alex Chavez says, when is your next tour date, live talk at a venue? I'm planning an LA talk next. I just did the Northwest, I just did Las Vegas, and then I did the East Coast in 2014, and I did the Midwest, and I did Denver. So I really want to do an LA talk. So anyway, LA is probably that. Right now I'm working on the app. The app's about to come out with completely new aspects, new share features, new aspects in the app completely. And I'm reformatting a lot there. So that's kind of been my agenda right now. I have an interview with Scarlet Moon coming out here in the next day or two, and with Rick Levine that I did in Washington. So I have a couple cool new interviews coming up as well. So anyway, hope everybody's doing, good. I know it's been, crazy, but at the same token, I think it's been beautiful. I think that people overall have not been focusing on the beauty enough. And focus on that beauty right now. It's a beautiful time. Thanks so much for all the support. I hope this video helped you about getting through your own fear. And you know what? To get back to the protester thing, it's fear. And it's irrational fear, to be honest with you. It's media-fueled fear. The things that I think Scorpio teaches us, especially with Neptune this week, is irrational fears that consume us destroy our positivity and our love and our light in our life. And so it's important for us to know what is irrational fear and what is true fear. Donald Trump has not blown you up with a nuke button. So Donald Trump has not removed any of your stuff. Donald Trump can't affect you in your life. What you need to focus on this week is, and it's going to be deeper, it's interesting. Most of us aren't protesters. I've seen only, maybe 4 people out of my 30,000 people on my Facebook or whatever it is that are protesting. So, it's like 1 out of 30,000. So most of us are not protesting. Most of us are facing real fears in our life. And we're discerning what are real fears to fear and what are not anymore this week. Focus on that and focus on the fears and to overcome them that you're dealing with in your own life right now. And don't let this noise of the universe and these protesters and the collectives, the protesting is the collective manifestation of fear. And that's not because of a president. It's because of an overwhelming amount of fear that has gathered up for the last 4 years of astrology transits that have been happening that I tried to cover today. So you can rewatch this video. I will post it up on YouTube. You can watch it here on my Facebook. Thanks for all the support. I truly appreciate it. I really do. and I appreciate all your support. Hope this really helped out a lot, and I will see you all on the next live video. I'll see you guys on the next time. Thanks so much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Wake up to astrology like you've never seen before.